Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And this is the dilemma facing South Africa right now. Okay, Ace Magashule is apparently going to go to court on Friday facing fraud and corruption charges. Now, when and if that happens, it's going to cause a huge split in the ANC, because there are a lot of senior members of the ANC who support Ace Magashule. Now, I have a video attached here where you'll hear they discuss this issue of Ace Magashule being arrested, although Ace says he knows nothing about it still. Now, the point I'm getting to here is that the Economic Freedom Fighters are a terrorist organization with a front of being a political party. And who's going to be the major beneficiary when the ANC fracture? Now, let's say, for example, some members of parliament say, we've had enough of the ANC. Guess where they're going to go? Economic Freedom Fighters. So really, the media in South Africa have got a huge role to play to educate South Africans that the EFF are a terrorist organization. They do not deserve to be in parliament. But the problem is, it's fake news coming out of News 24, Enka, SABC, and so I can go on. I mean, they're all fake news, let's face it. And because they're fake news, they're never, ever going to come out with the correct interpretation of what's happening with the Economic Freedom Fighters and Julius Malema, who should be behind bars. So the really ironic spin-off of the ANC basically imploding is that the EFF will probably be a huge beneficiary. So you're kind of jumping out of the frying pan into the fire when the ANC heads start to roll because of the corruption they've created. This is the strange irony of what's going on politically in South Africa. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.
Well, let's bring you into this conversation. You, of course, have been covering this Free State asbestos project, a multi-million rand project that was found to be questionable. What's the reaction from people involved in this project, especially when it comes to Ace Magashule?
Well, Shahan, it is the belief of Mxolisi Dukwana, a former ally turned foe of Ace Magashule, that this was a long time coming, that this was a project that was dubious from the start and was simply a way to be able to loot the fiscus. And it was massively inflated. 255 million was the tender, and it cost about 20 million to actually do the job, or even less if you look at media reports. About 3% of that 255 million is what it took to actually do the asbestos audit that found about 36,000 homes in the Free State have asbestos roofs. And by my last calculation, the latest information we have is that there's still over 33,000 homes. So 7 years, and they've only been able to eradicate about 3,000 homes. When I spoke to Mxolisi Dukwana, he said this is a long time coming. The man must face the music. Listen in.
I think Ace must face the music. He must face his time also and answer to a number of other things. We might not be saying he's guilty, but surely he has to answer. You come here where you take an oath, where you say conscientiously and all those things, and things happen under your watch. You still want us to believe that you are innocent. I did not do anything. The fact of the omission, failure to act, is actually an offense.
Fuyo, you said earlier when I spoke to you that Ace Magashule is unlikely to step down of his own volition, that he's going to play a hard game. What's the likelihood of party top structures speaking to him before he makes that call to try and win or save face?
Well, I mean, you need not go any further than, Pule Mabe, who is the national spokesperson of the ANC and the spokesman of the National Executive Committee. He didn't seem to know how to handle the news of Ace Magashule's imminent arrest. Not surprising. This is how the ANC has typically behaved. And part of the problem is that they have been very inconsistent in dealing with these sorts of matters. Add to that the fact that Ace Magashule is the CEO, if you like, of the ANC. Everyone takes their orders from him. Now, if the problem is right at the top, you can imagine how difficult it would then be for people like Pulemabe to actually come up with something that makes sense to many people. Add to that the fact that the entire ANC leadership, or at least the great majority of them, have actually battled to handle these matters up until now. Yes, that possibility exists, that there are people who will try and knock sense into him and argue, perhaps correctly, that to have your Secretary General, implicated in a matter as seriously as the one he will have to answer to won't bode well for the governing party on the eve of local government elections. But you can expect a pushback not only from Ace Magashule himself, but people who will call themselves all manner of things, from friends of Ace Magashule to structures of the ANC that are aligned to him. So there's going to be a lot of confusion as the ANC battles with how best to handle this matter. But do listen to to the initial response that we got from Pulemabe.
Today, Tuesday, the 10th of November 2020, the African National Congress learned through media reports of the issuance of a warrant of arrest against its Secretary General, Comrade Ace Magashule. This afternoon, the Secretary General advised the movement that he will be in consultation with his legal team to best respond to the latest developments and to guide any response on the matter. The Secretary General previously spoke about his imminent arrest and had requested his legal team to establish the validity of such an arrest with the relevant authorities. The Secretary General stated on more than one occasion, including through his legal team, that he would cooperate with any process undertaken by law enforcement agencies. The ANC will be monitoring these developments closely and will accordingly communicate on any update should the need arise.
So, Mike, let's get a bit more background on the allegations and how Ace Magashule is allegedly involved in the asbestos project. There were his initials that were found on numerous documents and spreadsheets. Tell us more about that, because the context and how he's linked is very important for viewers.
That's right. So it was Mr. Dekwane at the state capture inquiry last year who made this allegation that Igor Mpombani, one of the JV partners in this asbestos tender, had a spreadsheet. And on this spreadsheet, which, according to Mr. Dekwane, Mr. Mpombani would call the cost of doing business. If you read between the lines there, it's who you have to pay off to get tenders or to keep certain people happy. And there were a whole bunch of initials. OM, Olium Lamleli, she was arrested, the former mayor of Mangaung. And then there was an AM. And I asked Mr. Dekwane the obvious question, who is AM? We'll get to that in a second. The second issue is a paper trail from Ms. Charlotta, who is now in the US. It's the former PA to Ace Magashule. If you remember, just a few weeks ago, she was interviewed by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, working in collaboration with local law enforcement. What exactly they asked her, we don't know, but surely she would be a person of interest if there are these emails where she, acting on behalf of her senior, Ace Magashule, is asking Igor Mpombani to process certain payments And this is somebody who has got the asbestos tender. So there were certain dubious third-party payments that had to be made. And that's where Ace Magoshule's name came up. But I asked Mr. Dukwana, who is AM? This is what he had to say.
The reason why I refuse to help, to say you can't actually get involved in this if you do not have accreditation. He went on to say, look at this, and he took out a spreadsheet. And that he was saying, look, all these people that are here, we actually, this is what we call cost to business.
Is that where the AM was on?
That was all the names that he put. There were names, a number of other names. Others were written names properly.
Who is AM on that spreadsheet, Mr. Dukwana?
In terms of what he had said to me, he said AM meant Ace Magashule, OM, or Limlam Lady. He mentioned a number of things, and they were there. Problem with what we are dealing with is these people are not stupid. And we have seen people getting money in envelopes, in bags, etc. They just get cash.
Right, Vuyo, before we let you go, should Ace Magashule step down of his own volition or be suspended, his departure will need someone to take over the reins. He's effectively the CEO of the party. Are we expecting his deputy, Jesse Duarte, to take over those reins?
That would be the natural, a person to actually take over. But as I was saying earlier, do expect a great deal of pushback and opposition to that idea, because remember, Ace Magashule is among those people who know how the ANC operate, who know how best to use its structures and constitution, and who know where the pressure points and the weak points of the organization are. They will do, he and his allies will do the best they can to push back, to try and stop that from happening. Because the minute he loses control of the levers of the organization, he knows that it would be a downward, like a slippery slope for him from there. So they are going to try and resist that. But if one looks at how things have happened in the past a few years. Yes, they have taken a great deal of time. There has been a lot of toing and froing, a lot of accusations leveled at people like President Cyril Ramaphosa that they couldn't muster the courage to get these comrades of theirs to actually do the right thing. Slowly but surely things began to happen. No one thought that Jacob Zuma would leave before his term had actually expired, but it did happen. But what South Africans and those within the ANC who want to do the right thing would like to see is for these things to happen a lot more quicker, a lot more faster, a lot more effectively than has actually been the case. This perhaps is the big moment, the big test for the ANC to see just on which side the scales, are tilting this time around. And if they manage to convince Ace Magashule to step aside, it will be a good move. And I think a lot of South Africans will say, indeed, we can see a lot clearer now than has ever been the case before.
Well, thank you very much, political editor Vuyo Mvoko and reporter Michael Apple, for those insights and for tracking those developments for us. Shahan, important to remember, not just today, but every day. This story dating back 5 years to 2015. A lot of groundwork has been done to get to this point.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds.